Welcome to the EXP Young Professionals Mastermind with Andy Coleman.
My name is Andy Coleman. I'm obviously with EXP Realty. I started real estate about 3.5 years ago. It was a brand new state for me. I just moved to Florida like 5 years ago, so about 2 years prior to doing real estate. I didn't know anybody. I had no sphere of influence, no network built up whatsoever. So I kind of had to create my own atmosphere and create my own niche. I decided to do rentals. So I'm sure most of you guys and girls don't do any kind of rentals whatsoever. And most people probably told you it's a waste of time. You don't make any money doing them. You know, you're only making $1,000, $2,000 a deal compared to like a big house sale where you're making 10, 15, 20 grand plus. But I found that doing volume, doing a lot of rentals actually made up for it. And I actually did extremely well my first year, as a first year realtor. And then once I noticed, hey, this strategy works, I went all in year 2 and year 3, and everything just exploded from then. That was the beginning of my career.
Really excited to hear like exactly how you went about that process and how you used those rental leads to build your business into what it is today.
I do something called Any Broker Advertise. I don't know where all you guys are from right now, or you guys, in different states. I'm in Florida right now. So in my market, we have something called Any Broker Advertise, and it could say yes or no. If it says yes, then fantastic. I'm allowed to advertise that property. It's like giving inherent permission. But if you're not in a state that has something like that built into your MLS, that's okay, because you could just ask for permission, which is quite easy to do. Most realtors want to give you permission just to get their rental, rented faster. Because like I said before, most realtors, they don't like doing rentals. So they just want to get it done and over with. Yeah, you basically take that property that's in the MLS and Any Broker Advertised property, or you get permission for it. And then all you have to do is put it on Facebook Marketplace. Once you do that, you'll start getting leads flooding in. Hey, is this property available? Can I set up a showing? Things like that. And then that's it. That's the way that I was getting leads. So once I get the leads coming in, I would try to get that property rented out, right? If I couldn't, no big deal, not the end of the world. I would also set them up simultaneously on the MLS, because this basically, when I started doing this, it was like right during the pandemic. So things got crazy and hectic in Florida. We had like almost 1,000 people moving here every single day. So the market down here was slammed. Like I remember our inventory was at like 45, 50,000 rental units at any given time. And at the peak of it, it dropped down to like 5,000, which is nuts, because it became like, a bidding war and a fight over every single property. So when that started happening, sometimes they might get 20 offers per property. I would want to have backup properties, for the tenants, the clients, the leads that I'm working with. And that's why I would set them up on my MLS as well. If I got that initial property rented, that's a win. That's amazing. But you always want to have some backup properties in mind. And this way you would set them up on your MLS, just like a normal search, normal rental search. And actually, to add to this, I never did any kind of marketing whatsoever for purchases. And I still did anywhere from 5 to 10 house purchases, right around $100,000 in the peak of things, just from house sales from my renters that switched over to buying. Not even renters turning into buyers like later down the road, actually renters that said, hey, I changed my mind, I want to buy now. And I was the realtor that answered their call, that talked to them, because most realtors, they didn't even answer their calls. Even for their own listings, they wouldn't even answer their, text message, phone call, email, anything like that. They didn't want to be bothered with the rental deal. So I did. So then they would use me to purchase a house. So that's how I got all my house sales ever since I started doing real estate. Like I said, 5 to 10, per year. But aside from that, once I would talk to them, build a rapport, a friendship with them, they would want to work with me. And I found it relatively easy to actually get these rental deals done. So I'll backtrack a little bit. To do a rental deal, it's very similar to do a house sale. I'm sure a lot of you probably haven't even done any rentals at all, because, you heard that old saying, don't do rentals, stick to purchases. So rentals are, in my opinion, 2 to 3 times easier than doing a house sale, and faster. And you get paid like right away. Some of these rental deals, I'm not even exaggerating, I can get the client and then within 24 hours, literally have them apply to a property, accepted, lease drafted up, and moved in within 24 hours. And my average commission was right around $2,000 per deal. At the peak of it, I was doing about, let's just say right around 30 deals per month, right? So $2,000 times 30 deals, that's like 60 grand per month in commission, net commission. I icon doing this relatively quick. It probably only took me like 3 months last time to icon. So yeah, I would icon and 100% commission, plus the 16,000 stock, yada, yada. But I would be making close to 60 grand every single month from doing rentals, which is like unheard of. I've never heard of it before. I've talked to a lot of people that have never heard of it before. It was the system I used and the mindset that I had that allowed me to do so well. So I'll take it back a little bit more. Year one, I did about 80,000 in commission. In my mind, it was more than I expected for my first year in real estate, not knowing anybody, no sphere of influence, no network, nothing like that. That was more than I expected, but I was still like, feeling a little let down. I wasn't working that hard. I was probably only working about 6 hours per day, which I don't recommend. Obviously, listen, if you have a family, kids, all that good stuff, yes, it gets tough to work like a lot every single day. I was fortunate. I just had a girlfriend who owned her own business and she was kind of doing her own thing. So she was letting me, make up my own hours and wasn't really, hounding me about it. So the next year, it was actually her that kind of motivated me. So in year two, that's what I did. I busted my ass in year two. I was probably doing anywhere from 10 to 12 hours per day. Stop taking off the weekends. Stop turning my phone off at, 5 o'clock at night. And I would get back to most people, okay? I say most people because I'll get into it in a second, but I would get back to most people and I would work really, really hard at doing these rental deals. And I transformed that 80,000 in my first year to 250,000 in commission in my second year. That was technically the first time I did icon. I was like, very, very shy. I think I capped or something first year. But then second year, yep, got the icon. 250K, did about 150 deals, if my memory serves me correct, and most of those being rental deals. I think my average commission at that point was around 1,500-ish or so per deal because that slowly went up. So, if you do the rental method, don't get discouraged in the very beginning. Your average commission will be a little bit lower. I think my first year was around 800-900 per deal. I got that up to 1,500-1,600. And then third year, that's when it really took off for me. So, I consider that a success in my second year, but I was still missing something. There was still something more I could have been doing, right? I wasn't getting to all my leads. Like I said before, I was getting to most of them, wasn't getting to all of them, wasn't really pushing myself as much as I knew I could. As I mentioned before, my girlfriend let me, do whatever I wanted, basically work-wise. So I went all in my third year. And I started working about, I would say 15, 16 hours per day. Now, listen, I don't necessarily advise anybody do this. When I say this, yes, I would take a break to eat dinner, maybe go to the movies, but I was mainly working. Every second I was awake, I was working. Every second I was sleeping, I was sleeping. That was basically my mentality behind this was if you're awake, you're working, right? So about 15, 16 hours a day. And then I exploded. I did about $510,000 in commission in my third year. It was right around 250 deals. If you actually go and look up the Florida leaderboards for eXp Realty, I think it's like Florida Production Leaderboards or something like that. You'll see if you look up last year, I was ranked number 3. And this year, I think I'm currently number 2 right now by sides, by deals. So yeah, I did a ton of deals, made a great amount of money, right? And the commission was all mine because I icon. That's the beauty of this, which is a little kept secret. You can icon doing rental deals because you have to hit your 20 deals. For everybody in eXp Realty, I don't know if there's other brokerages listening right now, but for eXp Realty, if you do the cap for 80,000, you do another 20 deals on top of that. It's like 105K, which is like 25,000 more. You'll icon. They'll give you that $16,000 back, and you can do it doing rentals because you need 20 deals. So those rentals will stack up really fast. You could do them in like a month, if you're pushing really hard, and you could icon every single year by doing the strategy. So yeah, that's basically what I was doing for my first 3 years. I was really trying extremely hard in my third year, and it was working. So the thing about doing rental deals is, like I said before, yes, it's about 2 to 3 in my mind, because I built up systems and processes. It's about 2 or 3 times easier than doing a house sale. A little bit quicker, because you don't have to wait for the closing, deal with all that stuff. A lot less can go wrong. I've lost a lot of house sales. Yes, I've lost a lot of rentals, but not nearly as many in comparison because a lot less can go wrong. Maybe you get an HOA to deny them, or, maybe they back out. But typically, if you're doing 30 rentals a month, you might only lose a couple. And at that point, it doesn't really hurt. But if you're doing house sales, imagine this, you're only doing 1 house sale every single month, and then you lose a house sale, and that's $10,000 or $15,000. That's your income for the month that you're depending on. And then you lose that house sale, you're screwed. What do? You got to go into your your reserves, right? Doing the rental approach that I did, I didn't really have to worry about that. If I lost a rental or two, no big deal. Yes, I used to get upset about it, which I could talk about a little bit later because I built a mindset around not getting upset because that's just counterproductive and that just hurt my business. So, I had to get my emotions in check. But once I did, it's like, okay, it's just bound to happen, certain percentage of these deals, maybe like a couple percentage of these deals would not go through every single month. Once I realized that, I expected it, planned for it, and I was okay. But it wasn't like that sting, that hit of actually losing a house sale, which can be devastating for you. If you lose a house sale, that's it, you're done. But a rental, no big deal. So I did the whole volume approach. I think I got to track this, but I think I've done in my first 3 years right around 500 deals, cleared right around $1 million in net commission. And this was focusing on rentals. Now, here's the thing too. A lot of these tenants, these leads coming into you, these clients that you're working with, they don't have any other options because like I said before, like a million times already, renters, they want somebody to work with, but most realtors will not work with them. They don't want to. 1 out of every 10 realtors will say yes. And I was that 1 out of every 10. So whatever market you're in right now, I don't care if you're in Idaho, California, Jersey, Texas, Florida, like me, wherever the hell you are, it doesn't even matter because there's a gap in the market right now where renters need realtors to help them find places. And there's a gap in this niche. And I call this a niche because listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter, what you really focus on. I personally think that the rental approach is the best approach, all things considered, and I'll tell you why in a second. But for me, if you're doing open houses, for sale by owners, farming, mailers, whatever you want to call it, yes, you can make a lot of money if you only focus on that one niche. You can't start spreading yourself too thin and focusing on multiple different niches. In my opinion, and a lot of other successful realtors that I've talked to, it's not going to work because you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. I say this a lot, but it's true because this way you're not the expert in any one particular niche. You want to become the master at that one thing. In my case, it's rental. So I became a master at doing rentals. So everybody in my area, they came to me. And then my name spread around, my reputation spread around. So I was getting referrals left, right, front, and center. Even to this day, I'm getting referrals almost every day. I'm getting a referral coming in just from all the deals I was doing in the past. So that's one thing about doing these rentals that are so advantageous because you're reaching out to a ton of people. You're building a massive database, right? So I've done about, let's just say 600 deals by now, within 4 years, whatever. I probably have over 10,000 people in my email list right now. Okay. So you're building a massive network. And then guess what? All of those people, or a lot of them, are going to start referring you to their family and friends. And then all of their family and friends are not going to want to rent. A lot of them are going to want to buy. Like I said before, zero marketing for purchases, listings, anything like that. And that's how I still did close to about 100K, extra per year, just from house sales, from referrals, my renters turning into buyers, my renters switching their minds, things like that. So yeah, it works extremely well to build up a massive network. So especially for newer agents where, you might be in a brand new place, you might not have the luxury of having grown up, in a hometown and having a network of 1,000 people already built up. This is a perfect way to start because you could build a network very fast and you could also have a lot of money coming in and the learning curve's a little bit, easier because obviously, listen, at the end of the day, doing a rental is not as serious as doing a house sale, obviously. So if you make a tiny little minor mistake, it's more forgiving, So I think for new realtors, I think doing rentals is the best way to get in there, get your feet wet, get dirty, start making some money and start building up a network. Even for experienced agents, listen, right now in this market, I know it's getting a little bit better, but it's not really a buyer's market. It's not really a seller's market. We're kind of in limbo right now. I kind of call it like a rental market, like a renter's market right now. So you don't have to actually be able to do purchases or sales or listings or anything like that. You could actually focus on the renters right now in this, strange market that we're in, and you could still be extremely successful. So I'll go into it a little bit. So you don't even have to do this as a solo agent. So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I was a solo agent doing this for about my first 3 years, up until I think it was like January or February this year, right? Started right around December 2019 and solo agent the whole time. No VA, no assistant, no agents under me, nothing like that, right? Doing everything all by myself, the showings, the offers, the walkthroughs, sky slope, you name it. I was doing everything, right? You don't have to do that. once you start getting really experienced, once you master this niche, I mean, this could be said for any kind of niche, whatever you want to do, open houses, whatever, doesn't matter. Once you master it, you could actually bring a team in under you. So you don't even have to do this by yourself forever. I noticed, I was like, listen, yes, I can probably bust my butt again this year and do, 750 or $1 million or, whatever it is, doubled again. But I was like, how about if I start bringing in agents and teaching other agents? So I did. In the very beginning of the year, I brought on 2 agents in particular, and I started training them and teaching them. We have a commission split that we do. And basically, I do a certain portion of the tasks and they do a certain portion. And then, we like split the commission, right? So they're under me. They're working for me. They're helping me out with these deals. They were newer agents. They weren't really making anything before. So it's a win-win. I get a little time back for myself. They start making a crap ton of money. Everybody wins. I hired a VA, I got an editor, started making YouTube videos for like real estate marketing and things like that. And it's working. So you don't have to do this alone. Once you become really good at this, you can actually expand and start scaling up. You could even do this. I've had so many agents in different states even approach me and say, hey, why don't you, feed me leads, or why don't you help me out? And I'll give you a cut in a percentage. So unfortunately, I don't really have the time for it right now, but you can do that as well. Like the sky's the limit for this approach. You can scale up. And the way to scale up, what I really noticed is building your systems and your processes. That's very, very important because listen, you're doing this kind of approach. I don't care what you're doing again, doing this many deals, making, this much commission coming in. It's going to be hectic. It's going to be chaotic. You're going to have, you're going to have issues. You're going to have problems, and you're going to have a lot of people always wanting something from you, right? So you're going to have a lot of work to do. So you want to make sure, while you're scaling up, you got to have your systems and processes in place. You don't want to be, all chaotic and hectic trying to figure out, which deal is that? Which client is this? How much commission am I making? What's the price? Where's the contract? Did he apply to the HOA? You don't want to deal with any of that, right? You can hire transaction coordinators and stuff like that. You can do things like that, but you have to be organized yourself. In my opinion, I use files. If you have a Mac or whatever the hell you're using, doesn't matter. Make sure you have folders, and all your folders are within subfolders, and you have files. You have to have everything super neatly organized. So where if you want to find something, or if you're missing something, with a click of a button, you can find whatever you need really quick, because your time is going to be limited. Again, I don't care what you're doing. If you're going to be succeeding at the highest level, whatever strategy you choose, your time is going to be limited. You're going to have a lot of people that always are going to be reaching out to you constantly. You might be getting 10, 20, 30 text messages an hour. So you have to be extremely organized. That's one thing I learned on my way up, is organization is key. I did not do that in my first year, and my numbers, reflected that. Only 80,000 in my first year. And once I started getting organized and treating this as a business, making spreadsheets, I would have clipboards, note sections in my phones. I started creating dialogues and scripts, so I can quickly copy and paste responses to people. So I didn't have to sit there and type out, and text out little things over and over and over again. I got really smart. I started working smart. I'm sure you've heard the saying, work smarter, not harder. Well, I think you have to work smart and hard if you want to succeed at the highest level, at least on the come up. When you're grinding like that, you have to do it for the first few years. Then obviously you can start outsourcing things like I just mentioned before. But yeah, you have to work really, really smart and make sure that you're going to be efficient with your time. I'll give you an example. So when I was doing contracts and offers, right now I have my team members help me out with that. But when I was doing offers and contracts, I'd be sitting there doing maybe 20, 30 offers per day. Literally, I'm not even exaggerating, 20 to 30 offers per day. Okay. Because I would have, sometimes at the peak of it, I would have 200 leads coming in every single day. So I had to get back to those people, which I could talk about in a second. But for these offers, maybe in the beginning, it would take me, 3, 4, 5 minutes, right, to write up an offer. And obviously in the beginning, I wasn't doing that many 20 or 30. I was scaling up at that point, maybe only doing 4 deals a month, 5 deals. And it started gradually going up and up and up in year 2, year 3. But it was taking me a while to do these offers. That's just one example, right? I got that down to about like a minute, 30 seconds to do an offer. So I can fire out 30 offers in like 30, 45 minutes now, as opposed to me taking, an hour and a half, 2 hours to do these offers. But every little task that you do, if you could shave off, like 30 seconds here or even 5 seconds here, but you're doing something over and over and over again 100 times a day, that adds up, believe it or not. And your time is going to be extremely valuable when you're going to be succeeding at the highest level. So you really want to make sure you're being efficient with your time and you maximize everything that you're doing. Eden, so I didn't know if you had any questions for me now.
You had mentioned about getting back to your leads, and now you had about 200 coming in. What did that process look like for you for being able to efficiently get back to those leads?
When you have that many people reaching out to you, so this is what I was mentioning before, I wasn't getting back to all of my leads. So at a point in my first year, getting back to some, this and that. Second year, getting back to like a lot more. Third year, literally getting back to everybody because I was overwhelmed, right? It was a lot of people reaching out to me and I didn't have the capacity or time, I thought, to get to everybody. So it was really difficult managing that until I figured out a system. And that was mainly like my copy and paste system. Like you can have, like, I'll give you an example for Google. I don't know if you can do this on an iPhone. I actually don't think you can, but for Google, we have Gboard, I think it's called. We have a clipboard in Gboard for Google, and you could literally copy and paste whatever you want. You can pin certain scripts or dialogues or whatever messages. You could pin them in your keyboard, so you don't have to go to like your note section, your Word document, and copy and paste everything. I can literally send it out just as fast as me like clicking a button. Like a response, let's say it's a lead and they said, hey, I want to set up a showing with you, right? And I would have to say, hey, yes, it's available. Let's set up a showing. But in the meantime, as we set up the showing, it's very competitive right now. Let me set you up on the MLS to show you some backup options, right? For me to sit there and type out that whole thing, for 200 people a day, it would take me forever. So I figured out a method to where I can literally just copy and paste it in an instant. Like immediately I would copy and paste it and I can get back to 200 leads in 30, 45 minutes, get back to everybody. Okay. So doing little things like that really helped out tremendously. And again, too, even with that, I just want to throw in a little caveat for that. So a lot of people will not get back to you, right? So one thing I really learned was follow-ups, right? Follow-ups. I did not do this in my first, and I don't think I did this in my second year either. I think this was my third year is when I started doing follow-ups, and that's why I think I grew so much in my third year, because I would get back to the previous 24 hours of text messages, emails, phone calls, whatever it is. Whoever did not respond to me from that previous day, literally about 24 hours later, I would just go back and do a follow-up text to everybody. So if it was a lead, that didn't get back to me, I would just follow up like, hey, I'm an expert in rentals. If you don't have a realtor, do you want help? I can help you out. I can give you access to MLS. Say something like that, just a quick little follow. That's just one example as like a lead, but that added probably 20 to 30% to my business because most people would say, hey, sorry, I didn't even notice your text, or I was about to send a response and then, my kids started yelling at me and I forgot, right? So that follow-up text gets you about 20 to 30, maybe more percent extra business every single year, which is fantastic, So yeah, getting to leads, you have to be really efficient with your time, and you have to figure out a system that works for you guys. This whole process, nobody said it's easy, doing this. Yes, you might only have to work maybe 2-3 hours, really at the most per rental deal that you're doing. So you're really not spending a tremendous amount of time and effort on each rental deal. But, at the same time, you're going to run into some problems. You're going to run into some issues. Every deal is not going to close. People are going to be using other realtors. I mean, things will happen. So it's not like easy, like free, like fast, cash or anything. It's not like a get rich quick scheme. You know what I mean? So you really have to put in a lot of time and effort. But the beauty of this whole entire system, and even just being a realtor in general, is you get to make your own schedule, right? I would sometimes be up until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, working, putting offers in, doing this, doing that, updating my spreadsheet, whatever the heck it is, you know what I mean? Till 2 or 3 in the morning, wake up at 9, 10 o'clock and then get to work. So you could make your own schedule. That's the beauty of it. You don't have like a boss hanging over your head telling you do this, do that, do that. I always say that my clients are my boss. I have to appease them and make sure they're happy. So as long as my clients are happy, I'm happy and everything's working. But yeah, you can kind of do whatever the heck you want. So if you, let's say, don't want to work 16 hours a day and be a madman like me, you don't have to. You can work, 6 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours, whatever the heck you want to do. That's the beauty of this. But you'll only make as much money as much effort as you're putting into this. That's the whole thing. Yeah, maybe you don't want to work a lot and, grind yourself to the bone, but you're not going to make, $1 million, $500,000 per year. It's never going to happen, but doesn't matter. Maybe that's not your goal. Maybe your goal is you want to make an extra 50 grand, an extra 100 grand, for that year. then you could work, 5-6 hours a day, and you will make an extra $50,000, $100,000 every single year if you just put in a little bit of effort. You know what I mean?
And I see that Hence actually asked a question, and he said, what are your top 3 marketing channels? You had mentioned something about Facebook Marketplace.
Facebook Marketplace, that's the best one. I mean, obviously you can use Craigslist, you know what I mean? But Facebook Marketplace, that's the best, because listen, especially if you're brand new at doing this, if you get in there and start using Facebook Marketplace, it's completely free. You don't have to pay for anything like that. There's some service, I think it's called like Rental Beast, but they charge you, so like Craigslist also works as well, and it's also free. But yeah, Facebook Marketplace, I mean, it's just so forgiving, because especially if you start off, like very slow and you don't really get going really, like you don't go all in right away. So you start learning, how to actually work these deals, how to put offers in, how to write contracts, because at the end of the day, the whole thing is about getting deals accepted, right? So I don't know, whatever market everybody's in right now, it could be really competitive. It could be really slow and you get deals accepted easier. So yeah, marketing on Facebook Marketplace, I think, is the number one. It's the easiest way to do it. It's super easy how to do it. I can't go into it now. I break down my entire process, start to finish, where I literally will go through every single exec, precisely why I post the listings, how I'm posting them, how I'm finding them, why I'm using them, et cetera, how I'm getting my offers accepted, blah, blah, blah. I do all of that stuff, but that's in-depth, So I did start doing one-on-one coaching. If anybody is interested afterwards, I had to do it because I had so many people reaching out to me on a daily basis. I still do. At least 10 people are reaching out to me every single day. Help me. And obviously, I'm only one person. I don't have the time to do it. So yeah, if anybody wants to learn my exact process, or has very in specific details about everything I'm doing step by step, reach out to me. You could email me. It's andy.coleman1186@gmail.com. Reach out to me on Instagram. It's @theandycoleman, because I do, trainings and I do videos, on certain topics and subjects. So follow me on YouTube as well and watch some of my videos. It's @AndyColeman. Somehow I got that handle. Just type in Andy Coleman and I should pop right up. So yeah, definitely, reach out to me if you guys want to learn like my exact step. I did start doing one-on-one coaching. I did do one video. I think it's called how I get free leads that make me $500K a year. Find that on YouTube. That's a similar breakdown of what I'm talking about now, but it goes a little bit more in depth. Not my exact process, but watch that, if you want like a head start, just to get going. And I really talk about Facebook Marketplace a lot, because that's where I got started. I got started on Facebook Marketplace. That's the best way to do it. Make sure your profile is really professional, a nice picture of a thumbnail with like a button down shirt or a polo or something, right? Just make sure it's professional and everything, and start marketing on Facebook Marketplace. Just obviously figure out your rules and guidelines with your board of realtors, and take down the listings once they become closed. Obviously, you have to put up active listings, and then once they close or become pending, take them down immediately. But yeah, that's the best way to market. Eden, was there any other questions? I know you said somebody had a question.
Yeah, we're having a bunch of questions in here though, Andy. We've had some asking what exactly the process is like. We had a scenario in here. I'm a renter and I call you, hey, Andy, I'm looking for a 3-2 for my family of 5 and want to pay about $1,300 a month. What is the next steps?
I'm guessing that's not in Florida, because I've never heard of a 3-2. That's $1,300 a month. Our average deal. Now, listen, when you're doing the strategy, figure out your average prices. In Florida over here, 3,000 is probably the average 3-bed, 2-bath. And I'm in Boca Raton area, so it's a little more expensive. So yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know if you meant like that's unobtainable. I don't know if you meant that. It seems that way for me. So I would kind of get their expectations in line a little bit. So again, I don't know your market, but if 1,300 is like really, really low, you could tell them, just be honest with them. A lot of people really like brutal honesty. Obviously, don't be mean to them, like break it down to them in a way that's not going to hurt their feelings, but be honest. Be like, hey, listen, $1,300, we haven't seen that since 2004, whatever you want to say. Just let them know, like, hey, this is the prices right now. This is the typical 3-bed, 2-bath. I can absolutely help you, but we don't want to find a needle in the haystack, right? So yeah, you could just basically break down and tell them like the actual scenario of what's going on. But yeah, you want to help them. I don't know if you meant like a family of 5 is like tough or anything. I didn't think a family of 5 is tough. I mean, you have scenarios where certain owners or HOAs don't want to deal with a lot of people. But yeah, like in a situation like that, just set them up on your MLS because that's easy. All you have to do, set them up, do whatever max price you think that they can afford, right? Just be like, just ask them, hey, what's the actual price that you could pay? Like if there's 5 people and let's say there's 3 kids, 2 adults, or 3 adults, 2 kids, whatever it is, what can each one of you split, you know? And even if maybe they even can get assistance from like a Section 8 program or something like that. Believe it or not, I started working with Section 8 and a lot of those people need help and they are very loyal. They're surprisingly loyal because nobody wants to work with them. So yeah, if you're on Section 8 and they reach out to you, I think that's like I don't want to say like an easy deal, but you could easily help them get into places, you know, because a lot of realtors don't want to work with hard situations like that. That's another caveat right there. A lot of realtors want the easy deals, the high credits, you know, the high prices. So if you can specialize, you know, even in lower credit, you know, lower income, like those kind of things, like harder situations, yes, it might be a little bit harder work for you. So I'm going to give you a really good tip right now. So this is what you do, right? Now, in a situation like that, where you think it's like, okay, if I put in an offer for 10 properties, right, and only one of them will say yes, maybe you're lowballing them, maybe the credit's bad, maybe there's felonies, maybe there's evictions, maybe Section 8, whatever it is, right, bad situation, right? Then all you have to do is tell the tenant, you know, the client that you're going to be working with, hey, it's a lot wiser to actually put an offer in first. We'll run the credit background eviction report, rental application, proof of income, and driver's license. You could use a ton of different services out there. There's like Rentspree, which I use, Sumper, My Smart Move. There's a million services out there that you could use. Make sure, you know, you use something that's like widely accepted in your county or area, whatever. And if you do, you can literally just run one report, you know, one rental application with the credit background eviction report. And then proof of income would be like, you know, 3 pay stubs, 3 bank statements, tax returns, offer letters, picture of the driver's license. You write up the offer, which in my case is a contract to lease, and then you could fire it out to as many people, to as many listing agents, you know, and owners as possible. If they like the property, because you're going to set them up on your MLS, right? Maybe they'll have 50 listings that pop up in whatever given radius, and then you fire out the offers to as many as they actually like. This way, you don't have to waste 10 hours showing 10 different properties when only maybe one of them are going to say yes. So that's a strategy that I started adopting in my 3rd year, I believe. And that saved me a tremendous amount of time. I mean, I can't even tell you how much time that has saved me because now I don't have to do the showing first, right? So instead of doing like literally every client would want to see around 2 to 5 properties. That's probably the average, right? You know, 2 to 5 properties. Each property takes about an hour. So we're talking anywhere from 2 to 5 hours of time. And if they're only getting accepted to one of these properties, you're wasting that time. It's time literally just thrown out the window. You're never going to get that time back again. So why not put the offer in first? Make sure that the owner, the listing agent is going to accept it. Then you can quickly take them over there, show them the property, make sure they like it. In the situation where you described, it sounds like they're probably pretty desperate. As long as they look at the property on the MLS, you know, look at it through Google Street View, you know, the maps, Google Maps, satellite view, things like that, you know, as long as they do that, you know, check out, make sure the area is good. Maybe you could have them drive by the areas, you know, just so you don't have to do it because your time is going to be very valuable. And then they could say, okay, you know, the square footage works, the pictures work, the area works, you know, the price works, this, that, everything works. Then you throw the offer in, right? And then if it gets accepted by the owner, fantastic. You've just saved yourself a tremendous amount of time. Sounds like they're not going to be that picky. You're going to take them to go and see it, and bearing any like, you know, catastrophic like hole in the roof, you know what I mean? Like catastrophic damages to the property, they'll probably end up taking the property. They'll probably settle and take the property. And then you just got a deal done. You just made your, you know, half a month's rent commission. Oh, I actually never talked about that. So it just dawned on me. So each deal I do is about half a month's rent commission. I know I said I started at like, you know, 800-900, then went to like 1,500-1,600 average commission. And now I'm around, I think it's like 2,000, 2,100 average commission per deal. But that's because I'm getting about half a month's rent commission every deal. So I hope I answered your question, but yeah, I just wanted to go into that for a second. So I get about half a month's rent commission for every single deal. The average deal around here is around 3,000. So that's about $1,500. You know, I work on a little bit higher prices, so mine's a little bit higher. But here's the thing I do that's a little trick that I learned year and a half ago that I probably made an extra like 80 grand last year just from doing this. I actually write down a $300 transaction fee on every single offer I put in. Now, this is for my client to pay me. Whoever I'm working with, doesn't matter. You could charge it to listings if you want. I typically don't. I typically charge it to the tenants that I'm working with. So every single tenant, client that I'm working with, I'm charging $300 per deal. I only collect it if I get them into a property. I do not collect it ahead of time. This way, they want to work with me because technically they're not paying me anything up front, for my services, for me to help them. So this way I get $300 extra per deal. If I'm doing, let's just say I'm doing 30 deals per month, right? That's 30 times 300. That's $9,000 extra per month. What is that, like 92 grand or $96,000 extra per year? I hope I did the math right there. If you're only doing 10 deals per month, that's $3,000 extra per month. That's $36,000 extra per year. Whatever you're doing, add a transaction fee to every single deal that you're doing, right? If you're new to this, you don't have a name built up for yourself, you're not really experienced, maybe you're not providing as much value as like an expert in this exact strategy would provide, maybe charge a little bit less than, maybe $100, 150, 200, whatever you want to charge, and work your way up to 300. Maybe you want to charge more. Maybe you only get $500, referral commission or referral split or whatever you want to call it. Maybe you get a little bit less than I get. Maybe you don't get half much rent commission. Then you could charge your tenant, let's say, $500 or more. I've heard that I think in Jersey, in some counties in New Jersey, the agent has the tenant pay for the commission. So they got to come out of pocket an extra whole half a month's rent or whole month's rent out of pocket in addition to first, last, and security, which is commonplace and normal over there. So yeah, you can get creative. If you're not getting a massive, referral commission like I am, which is half a month's rent, you could charge a transaction fee and you can literally, sky's the limit, charge whatever the heck you want, see what works. So yeah, I hope I answered that question. And it sounded like there were some more questions. So was there any more questions?
Did you find did you find some of the people you were looking on Facebook Marketplace for rentals were scammers?
I actually think it's in reverse. So it would be that the agents that would be marketing properties, they would be the scammers, and the leads, the clients, tenants that are reaching out to me, they would be skeptical of me that I was a scammer, because this happens. And honestly, it doesn't really happen as much on Facebook Marketplace as it does on Craigslist. That's why I kind of say Facebook Marketplace is a little bit better to start with. Yeah, I would say that to solve that problem, because you do have people reaching out to you, and then just imagine you are doing my strategy where you're having them do, the whole credit background report and everything, and it's like $38, whatever. Imagine they're doing something like that, right? And then all of a sudden, they think that you're trying to scam them or something like that, which you're obviously not doing. You're a licensed realtor. That's why I say have a very professional profile on Facebook Marketplace. You even want to be known on the internet, have a good Instagram profile, a LinkedIn, just anything, a TikTok, even a YouTube, just be out there in the internet and make yourself look as professional and trustworthy, and have your credentials out there. And obviously you could have links to the DBPR where you have your license hung, or whatever kind of board that you're on. Do things like that just to make yourself look very credible, because at the end of the day, yes, you will have people that think that you might be trying to scam them. Now listen, if you're not asking them for money up front or anything like that, then what are you scamming them for? I guess their information. But if you're doing a background report on a third party, and like I said, I don't even recommend you do that method until you're super advanced and really know what you're doing. I recommend doing showings, taking them to see the properties, building a report them in person to actually build a bond with them and make sure they're loyal to you, and actually try to get the deal done in person. But yeah, I mean, if you're just doing that and you're doing the showings, you don't really have much to worry about, because all you're doing is taking them to a showing and showing them a property, right? You're not even asking for money. So once they like the property, the application and everything, and then they got to get accepted by the owner, then you got to do the lease agreement, right? Then you do a deposit, first month's rent deposit. Typically, obviously, as you guys know, first, last security to move into a property, first month's rent is a deposit, and typically that's held in escrow by a law firm. So how are you scamming them? You know what I mean? It's held by a lawyer. So you're not even touching the money. So yeah, you might get that from time to time, but I recommend doing things like that. You know what I mean? And you could just tell them, hey, Google me, look me up, look at my license number, call my company, and verify me. You're a real person. So just make yourself look as real as possible, and don't ask for money or anything like that. Just genuinely try to help them, because that's what you want to do, is you want to try to help them. Okay, so I think I answered that question. Okay. Was there any other questions?
Chad, do you ever collaborate with property managers to get paid for the tenant that you're bringing?
That's a good question, actually. So I've actually had a bunch of property managers reach out to me and tell me, hey, it's like typically not for that particular deal because I'm bringing the tenant to them already. So it's not like, they have to go out of their way or anything like that. So typically not for that particular deal that I'm doing with them. But I've had a ton of property managers reach out to me and say, hey, if you send me tenants, that you've worked with, and I get them under contract to represent them, whether it's like a listing agent, or a landlord, and they represent, the property that way. And I basically refer it to them. They tell me they'll give me like, $200 a deal. I think some of them said they'll give me $500 a deal, or like, a certain percentage every single month. So yeah, that's actually a really, really, really good idea to partner up with the property management company. This way you can do referrals and you can actually make side money doing that, which is great. Who doesn't want to get paid just for giving a name of a property management company just to a listing agent or, an owner of a property. And the beauty of doing this, obviously, you're going to have a ton of, deals that you've done. Like I said, I've done, who knows, 500 my first year. I've probably done at least 100 and something this year. So I have a database now of all these lease agreements with the property owners in my, in my files and folders. So I could even go back right now if I wanted to, or hire somebody, an assistant to do this for me, where I can reach out to every single property owner and say, hey, I could even try to get a listing out of it, for let's say 600 deals that I've done. I can go back and call each one of them, try to get a listing out of it now, because technically I've done a deal with them. They're not on the do not call list because I'm getting their phone number from the lease agreement that I work with them. So I'm pretty sure that's legal to do. I've heard it is anyways. Or you could even ask them, a 2-in-1, can I get the listing? Do you need to sell, rent the property out? Or I have a property manager. Do you want, a property manager for your property? So yeah, I mean, there's just so many benefits. I probably missed a million benefits of doing my whole rental strategy that I'm not even thinking about. Just, I was saying before a little bit about buyers turning into renters as well. I kind of briefly spoke on that, but like in the future, typically it's like a 3-ish, 3 to 5 year kind of plan for from renters turning into buyers, where they'll rent for a couple of years and then as long as you market to them, use your constant contact, KV Core, your MailChimp, whatever the heck you want to use, your CRM, and market to them every single week, send out a weekly email. You'll be top of mind, right? And then they're going to want to use you to buy their house. And it's, like I said, usually a 3 to 5 year process, but those people, those renters will turn into buyers. And then, imagine this. I'm going to give you some numbers really quick, right? So let's say you did 500 deals in 3 years, right? Let's say 10% of those renters turn into buyers. That's 50 buyers that you're going to get from those 500 deals you did. And typically that's every single year after like 3 to 5 years, right? That's an extra, what is that? Let's say $10,000, per deal average. That's an extra $500K per year from your renter turning into buyers. That's not even doing any kind of extra marketing except for just your weekly CRM, which is like set up automatically, basically. So you just build the database of all your renters, and you can market them. You can have a VIP list. You could have a list where just your MLS contacts, your credit background contacts, whatever kind of contacts you want to segment them in, and then market to them differently. But you can have a list of all these renters that you can now market to buyers. So that's amazing to actually do, to add on to your business. Let's say you're making the $500,000 per year, you're doing 200 and something deals per year on renters, then you get the buyers on top of that. That's $1 million a year business right there, just from working with renters, right? And that's just the beginning. Then you start calling all of your leases to get listings. Then you work with your property managers. Then you build out a team and you have them start working for you. You start recruiting other agents. If you're with EXP, you get 3% of every deal they do. You could, and then, there's just so much money that you can make from doing this strategy. Like everything stems, from getting the leads. That's like the base of your pyramid. And then it all just branches out from there. So that's why I like doing this so much, because the sky's the limit. Like you have so many options even after you get that renter into a place to make additional income from that. So yeah, I hope that answered your question as well, because like I said, all my renters right now, I've been doing this for about 3.5 years right now. They're starting to turn into buyers right now. Don't quote me on this. I think I've done at least 8 purchases already this year, which is a lot for me. I normally don't do that many, just because my renters are turning into buyers. And then the beauty of this is that it doesn't even end there. Your buyers will then turn into sellers, which is the crazy part. This is like, then you can go on to like a 10-year strategy, right? Where you're turn into buyers, and then you take your buyers and turn them into sellers, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever people want to, after they buy a house, they want to sell it. So after another like 5 years after that, your buyers are going to turn into sellers. So then you could tack that on to your business as well. Maybe you want to start throwing out some mailers as well. I mean, that's something easy to do, so you can get some listings out of it. Like you can add things to your business as well. But yeah, you have like a 3-tier system here where you're renters and the buyers, your buyers and the sellers, and then you'll make extra income from all of those along the way. So I think this whole strategy is like, it's like future proof. You know what I mean? Because one of the things I've noticed, and I have not been doing this, I still consider myself relatively new. I've only been doing this like 3.5 years. I still consider myself a relatively new agent. So I haven't seen like a 2008 crash yet. You know, I haven't seen a ton of different dips in the market, this and that. You know, when I got into the market, I remember it being a buyer's market very, very briefly. And then pandemic hit, then it became a seller's market. And now we're like in no man's land right now. So I haven't even seen like, you know, the ebbs and flows in the market yet. But in my mind, I always like to say the rental approach that I use is market proof. It does not matter what kind of market it is, especially over my last 3.5 years. I've noticed my business has not suffered at all. Ever. Never, not 1 second has my business actually suffered because of what the market's doing. Because at the end of the day, like I said, if it's a buyer's market, great. For the seller's market, great. You know, if you're a seller's agent and it's a buyer's market, you might be screwed. If it's a buyer's market and you're a seller's agent, you might be screwed. But if you're a renter's agent, it's always a rental market. Okay. I like to think of a rental market as a flat line, right? It's always going to be like just set right here. You know, you're always going to be able to do a certain amount of business. Let's just call it $500,000 a year, right? But sometimes, let's say it switches over to like a heavy seller's market or a heavy buyer's market, then maybe it might go like up a little bit, right? Then maybe it'll go down a little bit, but it will never go down past that center line. That's the beauty of the rental strategy. You could basically depend on getting like a set income every single year because the renter market never really changes. It never really dips below that like center line. In my mind is what I like to think about it. Even doing this throughout the past 3 years, I've just grown, you know, and like I said, I came in at a buyer's market during a freaking pandemic as a brand new agent in a brand new state, not knowing what the hell I was doing. I'd never done a rental deal in my life. And I made a massive business out of it. And it's only been growing every single year. No matter what the market did, what the stock market did, my business has constantly been growing. So yeah, you know, that's one thing I've noticed is it's kind of like, you know, future proof. So you don't have to worry about not having income coming in. And obviously the income's fast. Some of these deals I mentioned before, you can get done in 24 hours. That's not the average deal. You know, a lot of times it takes 1, 2, 3 weeks, you know, sometimes 30 days to get paid, but they're so easy to do. Each one of these deals, really do it with the same amount of time and effort as you can sale to do like 3 to 5 rentals. So it ends up adding up. If you are making around $2,000 commission per deal, and let's just say hypothetically you could do 5 rentals with the same amount of time and effort as you could do 1 house sale, it kind of makes up the difference. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more hectic and chaotic. You're going to be dealing with more people, you know, a lot of moving parts, dealing with, you know, 5 people compared to 1. But you can stack them up. It's future proof and you can make a killing doing it. And that's only the beginning. Like I explained before, you can make the money now by doing the rentals and a lot of it. And then you could make even more later when your renters turn into buyers and buyers turn into sellers. So I don't know. In my mind, this is like a win-win-win. I don't really see any, you know, downfalls of doing this strategy. Yeah, I mean, I hope everybody, you know, really enjoyed it. You know, that was basically my story and how I did everything. Like I said, I have a team going right now. Trying to recruit agents, you know, for EXP, obviously, which is a really good benefit as well. So yeah, if anybody wants to learn more, you know, reach out to me. I dropped my email before. It's andy.coleman1186@gmail.com or at the Andy Coleman on Instagram. Follow me and subscribe on YouTube. It's just Andy Coleman. Yeah, if you Google me, I'm sure you'll find me all over the place. Yeah, look me up, you know, stay tuned to all the videos I'm going to be dropping. Watch my old videos because I break down a lot of this stuff in detail. Yeah, and that's basically all I got for you guys.
Make sure you guys go follow Andy at the Andy Coleman on all the social medias. Reach out to him if you guys want any more. Talk to him. Like I said, he's doing the coaching now. So thank you again, Andy, for coming on. Thank you everyone for joining us. We do these mastermind calls every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you guys follow us at EXP Young Professionals on workplace and social medias, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Take care. All right. That's pretty good.